Hey, what's going on? My name is Brad, and with me is Jamie, and this is the Conspiracy Juice Bar. Welcome.
What's on the menu today, Brad?
Hey, the Conspiracy Juice Bar. I love it, man. I love the name of the show. This is going to be a show where we talk about conspiracy theories and paranormal events, and we're just going to discuss them and add our commentary, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. So, first one we're going to do, the first conspiracy we're going to do. Nah, we'll leave it in. First conspiracy we're going to do is the Roswell incident. Now, this happened in Roswell, New Mexico, July 5th, 1947. And just to give you a little context on what was going on during this time, in 1947 was kind of when the flying saucer craze started. On June 26th, media nationwide had responded to a civilian pilot who was telling a story about seeing a flying saucer, and that's kind of where the whole flying saucer things came from. So this whole thing was, when the Roswell incident happened, there was a flying saucer craze going on throughout America. Also, in 1947 was the start of the Cold War. Jackie Robinson took the field for the Brooklyn Dodgers, becoming the first African American to play Major League Baseball. Chuck Yeager becomes the first person to break the sound barrier. Miracle on 34th Street movie premiered. Goodrich manufacturers made their first tubeless tire. The Frisbee was invented. I'll put that in here for you, Jamie. You look like a Frisbee guy.
Yeah, I love Frisbee, dude. Frisbee golf.
You ever played that?
Yeah.
Disc golf?
I got a whole bunch of them.
Do you really?
Yeah, there's a nice place just down the road from here.
We need to go. Because I've never played and I've always wanted to check it out. Also in 1947, the first of the Dead Sea Scrolls was found and the CIA was established.
The CIA.
Yeah, it's kind of...
interesting.
Yeah, there's a couple other interesting things that also happened in 1947 that we'll kind of touch base on as I read through this. So the way this is going to work is I pulled these articles off the internet. Most of them came from Wikipedia. Found some in some encyclopedias. And I pulled some information off other random websites as well. But I put it all together. I'm going to read through this story. Stop me whenever. And we'll just kind of discuss it as we go. So, you ready?
Hit it, man. Hit it. I love the Roswell story.
Yeah, you probably know a lot more about this than I do, but this is the one I chose. I kind of chose it also because I knew you had a great deal of knowledge on it. So after spending 6 days in the car with you, I find out a lot of things that you know a lot about. So
we'll see how deep you go on this juicy show.
You ready?
I'm ready. Shoot.
All right. So on Saturday night, July 5th, 1947, rancher W.W. Mac Brazel made a trip from his remote ranch to town, Corona, New Mexico. The ranch had no phone and no radio, leaving Brazel unaware of the flying saucer craze of the prior 10 days. So this was on July 5th, and like I said earlier, June 26th is when the whole flying saucer thing, kind of from Kenneth Arnold's story, he's that civilian pilot. So it all started. Now, Mac Brazel, he didn't know about what was going on because in 1947, not everybody had cell phones, telephones, TVs, or radio even.
I don't even think they had CBs, did they?
I don't know when they were invented. I didn't look that up. I wasn't around back then.
I wasn't either. My mother wasn't around then.
Yeah, this was before all of our time. So
my dad was around then.
Was he?
Well, he was a little kid.
So as a result, it was not until Saturday night that Matt connected the debris he had found 3 weeks earlier with the flying disc in the news. The debris, tinfoil, rubber, and thin wooden beams had been scattered across a square mile of his ranch. Brazel previously had gathered it up and pushed it under some brush to dispose of it. Look, if I found that crap out on my ranch, I would be suspicious, to say the least. I mean,
you got wooden beams, though. That's kind of...
That threw me off.
Medieval, isn't it?
When I think of aliens or spacecrafts, wood is not a material I would assume they would use in the construction of their space shuttle. So the tinfoil, the rubber, the thin wooden beams or wooden strips. So basically these are strips of wood like, I don't know, like you see
quarter round?
That's what I thought of. Something like that. And based on the pictures you see, it kind of looks like some kind of laminate boarding. So when Brazel heard the stories of silvery flying discs that Saturday night in Corona, New Mexico, he decided to gather up his prior find. On Sunday, July 6th, Brazel dug out the debris, and on Monday, July 7th, he took it to the sheriff's office in Roswell. The sheriff called Roswell Army Airfield, which assigned the matter to Major Jesse Markle. Brazel took Markle back to the debris site, and the two gathered up more pieces of rubber and tinfoil. Markle took the material home on Monday night.
You know, I've heard that he also, Markle or Marcel, I don't know how you pronounce his name, but showed his son the debris before he took it to the Air Force Base.
I think that's another benefit of watching this show, is listening to us mispronounce pretty much everything we try to pronounce. Anything over, one syllable, I struggle with.
The only reason I'm saying Marcel, isn't he the little Snell cartoon for kids?
Marcel? I don't know.
Isn't it Marcel?
I got a clue.
He could be an alien, dude. Have you ever seen Marcel?
No.
Well, he looks like an alien. Let me show you. Marcel.
When's he from? Like, what time period is this?
I don't know. He's probably still on TV.
Is this from when you were a kid?
No, it's been around. It was just a book when I did it.
Marcel the Snail.
Uh-huh.
I think it's... I mean, this could be Marcel. It could be Markle.
As soon as I show him, you're going to go, oh, crap, that's the alien they found in Roswell.
That's that stupid seashell movie they're making.
Oh, are they making a movie? It's been a kid's show forever.
Yeah, they're making a movie out of it. It looks stupid.
Well, you know, it's not like your 2-year-old's got much in the way of intelligence.
Well, I mean, it's not like Hollywood hasn't much in the way of intelligence either, so I wouldn't expect them to put out anything decent.
Yeah, it's probably not coming from Hollywood because, look, that's some creativity there.
Yeah, they stole somebody else's idea.
Yeah.
So on Tuesday morning, July 8th, Marcel took the material to his base commander, Colonel William Blanchard.
You sure it wasn't Clink? Colonel Clink?
No.
The way they screwed this investigation up, you'd think it was Hogan's Heroes was manning the Air Force Base.
So Blanchard reported the finding to General Roger Ramey at Fort Worth Army Airfield. General Ramey ordered the material flown to FWAAF immediately. Marcel boarded a B-29 Super Fortress and made the flight to FWAAF.
Also known as FWAF. FWAF.
Fort Worth Army Airfield.
FWAF. Let's just call it FWAF.
Why wouldn't you just call it Fort Worth Army Airfield? Like FWAF. We can call it FWAF. That's cool. So on July 8, 1947, RAAF, Public Information Officer Walter Hunt. Is that how you say it? Hunt?
Yeah, he actually later invented Pizza Hut.
Really?
Yeah, his last name was Hut.
H-A-U-T?
I'm just making this completely up.
Oh.
Doesn't it sound good, though?
I would have straight
His
up...
son's name was Pizza Hut.
Pizza Hut. So Walter Hunt issues a press release stating that personnel from the field's 509th Operation Group had recovered a flying disc which had landed on a ranch near Roswell.
Ooh, see,
this is where
the truth comes out, but then later they start lying.
So it's basically the day after they had said flying disc in the newspaper, they removed that from the newspaper. They redacted their story.
So I got something to throw in here. So we got this, what's the dude's name that found it?
Mac.
The rancher?
Mac Brazel.
We got Rancher Brazel, right?
Yep.
We just drove through in New Mexico.
Yep.
It's just flat with a couple of desert bushes.
Yeah, nothing.
Nothing. Maybe some mountains or whatever they call those things up there. Santa Fe's? No, that's a city.
Sierra?
Well, whatever. Mesa? Is that it? Is it a mesa?
The Rockies?
Yeah.
Mesa. Yeah, there's plateaus.
Yeah, but they got like nothing but sand and little bushes down there. This guy's a rancher, right? in the middle of nowhere. And where he lived, if you look on the map, is like, I just did it, 70 miles northwest of Roswell. Mm-hmm. It's like halfway between Albuquerque and Roswell.
Correct.
So this dude, the wind's crazy there, right?
Yeah.
I bet you're always digging up shit and burying it.
I'm sure.
Because it's going to get blown away. It's not like you can put a rock on it, piece of paper, and hold it. But this guy saw this stuff and he was like, weird. I need to call the sheriff. How many times have you found trash in your backyard where you thought, this is important enough for me to call the sheriff?
If I found a body in my backyard, I don't think I'd call the sheriff.
But this dude, I mean, just based on this, it's tin foil, rubber, and wood.
Correct. Based on what they're telling us.
Right. What I'm saying is, and then the sheriff goes out there and looks at it and says, holy crap, we need to contact the base. So there's no way this is what they call it later.
So as soon as Marcel brought the material to General Ramsey's office, both Ramey and his chief of staff, Colonel Thomas Dubious, identified the material as pieces of a weather balloon kite. The FWAAF weather officer on duty explained to reporters that such ray wind, which I don't know what ray wind devices. Do you know what ray wind is?
A ray beam. It's like a laser beam.
So he said such devices were used at about 80 different weather stations across the country. The balloons were attached to a 6-point reflective device that looked like a silvery star. After launch, the balloon expanded with increasing altitude before busting around 60,000 feet, with pieces then disappearing in the fall to the ground. So,
well, I got a little connection to that.
Well, my theory is, like you said, Brazel or Mac finds this stuff on his land, and he calls it rubber, tinfoil, and wood beams. Like I said, wood and beams on a spacecraft don't make sense to me. I don't think there's wood, but what if it was a material similar to wood that Mac just didn't know what to call it?
Could have been vinyl.
That's what
Quarter rounds vinyl now.
It could have been it could have been something other than wood, but he didn't know what to call it, so he rolled with wood. That's just a theory of mine. Like, what if it wasn't wood? So what if, and like you said, when have you found something on your property that makes you think to call the sheriff? It would have to be very outrageous. From, like I said, if I found a dead body in my yard, I'm not sure I'm calling the police.
They might point the finger at you.
Exactly.
And I'm sure this would be his thought.
You just ignore it.
Holy crap.
Keep walking over it.
Yeah. Well, he hid it under a bush. He tells you this.
Say nothing.
Yeah, he got rid of it. And then he said, uh-oh, this could be important. Let me call the sheriff. Then the sheriff calls the base. Then they say we found a flying saucer.
Correct.
Then it becomes a weather balloon.
Exactly. And the official story is it was some kind of top secret weather balloon anyway. That's what they're saying now.
My father's first career, well, his degree was in meteorology in college. He launched weather balloons all the frickin' time for the government. Because at the time, we didn't have satellites. And he did it near Air Force Base, well, actually Navy bases. But don't you think if you are a rancher within a couple 100 miles of Roswell Army Air Force Base, you know what a frickin' weather balloon looks like?
I would think so. And I would think, you got to also remember during this is the era where we're testing nukes and all that stuff out in the deserts in New Mexico and Arizona anyway. So I would think that, like, so much weird stuff probably happens out in this area anyway, just with government testing, that you see a lot of crazy crap. So you know the difference between a flying saucer and a weather balloon. I mean, what we saw China fly over our whole country, I saw the pictures. That didn't look like a flying saucer to me. It looked like a satellite array or a...
hanging from a white balloon.
Yeah, like solar panels hanging from a white balloon.
Mm-hmm.
A weather balloon. I've seen plenty of weather balloons. We lived in Alabama for a few years, And you'd see weather balloons outside. It was just,
you got the rocket lab up Huntsville.
Yeah.
So you're probably seeing that crap all the time.
we saw weather balloons. I mean, you'd go outside on a Sunday and it wasn't nothing to see a weather balloon. And we had a kid that played on our soccer team. His dad was a meteorologist, and he would tell us, "Oh yeah, we let a weather balloon go over the weekend." So I find it hard to believe that Mac saw this debris and confused it with a weather balloon. You know what I mean? It's just hard.
You're not calling the sheriff's department with a weather balloon.
Exactly. You're calling the sheriff's department with a flying saucer.
With a UFO.
So the conspiracy here really didn't, there's a ton of conspiracies that go around this incident. So we're going to focus mainly on, like I said at the beginning, the Roswell incident. So in 1980, Marcel's story was featured in the book The Roswell Incident by Charles Berlitz and William Moore. The authors had previously written popular books on such fringe topics such as the Philadelphia experiment and the Bermuda Triangle. Though he was uncredited, Filderman carried out some of the research for this book. The book's narrative holds that an alien craft was flying over the New Mexico desert observing U.S. nuclear weapons activity. Like I said, at the time they were doing a lot of testing for the nuclear weapons in the
Wouldn't
desert.
something that seismic set off alarms at another planet?
Very well could.
I mean, just the Hiroshima and Nagasaki, you'd be going, wow,
Check that out.
there's a big boom out there in the second parsec of space over by that universe we call blue bubble circling the hot sun.
Planet 3.
Yeah.
Planet 4, whatever they call this planet. So it says that the book anyway said that it was flying over New Mexico desert observing the U.S. nuclear weapons activity, but crashed after being hit by lightning, killing the aliens on board. A government cover-up followed. Historian Kathy Almstead writes that book's narrative has come to be known as version 1 of the Roswell myth. Berlitz and Moore's narrative was dominant until the late 80s, when other authors, attracted by the commercial potential of writing about Roswell, started producing rival accounts. So this book in 1980 was the first account of it to really bring forth the whole idea of a conspiracy.
What's interesting is that there's lesser known second UFO crash in Roswell. The second incident.
Well, the first major UFO crash I could find happened in 1933 in Italy. At least the first one on record. So the debris and cover-up. The Roswell incident featured accounts of debris described by Marcel as nothing made on this earth. So in the book, that's how he described the debris. Now, Marcel was one of the first people to see this. Marcel was one of the first people to see this debris. So additional accounts by Bill Brazel, son of rancher Mac Brazel, neighbor Floyd Proctor, and Walt Whitman Jr., son of newsman W.E. Whitman, who had interviewed Mac Brazel, suggests the material Marcel recovered had super strength not associated with a weather balloon. The book introduced the contention that debris which had been recovered by Marcel at the Foster's Ranch, visible in photographs showing Marcel posing with the debris, was substituted for debris from a weather device as part of the cover-up. The book also claimed that debris recovered from the ranch was not permitted a close inspection by the press. All things leading you to believe that this could be a cover-up.
It's a cover-up, dude.
Well, they're saying the photographs that show Marcel posing with the debris was not even the debris that they picked up. It was fake debris that they used from a weather balloon to kind of throw everything
You mean
off.
that one there?
Yeah,
Which looks like tin foil.
correct.
But I've seen a guy interviewed on a YouTube show who got his hands on it. He said you could wad it up, the tin foil, let it go, and it would just flatten out again.
Yeah, that's what I said. So super strength.
but it was as thin as aluminum foil.
The efforts by the military were described as being intended to discredit and contradict the growing hysteria towards flying saucers. 2 accounts of witness intimidation were included in the book as well, including when Mac Brazel was arrested. So they locked him up too. So far we got the Army admitted it was a flying disc on day 2.
And they denied it.
On day 3 they denied it and said it was a weather balloon. Then you got a book that was written in 1980 with Marcel basically being interviewed for the first time and this stuff being written down. Marcel's saying that they took the debris, hid it, and used debris from a weather balloon for photo ops. They would never let the press back in 47 even get close enough to the debris to really, decipher what it really was or to look at it or touch it. Then they're saying that it had super strength. And then you got Mac goes to jail. Then they lock him up. So, all that leads me to believe it's a government cover-up. So the authors claim to have interviewed over 90 witnesses though the testimony of only 25 appears in the book. Only 7 of these people claim to have seen the debris. Of these, 5 claim to have handled it. Now, the first mention of alien bodies. So the main Roswell incident didn't necessarily talk about the alien bodies. That wasn't the main theory of it. It was more of a government cover-up. But the Roswell Incident book in 1980 was the first book to introduce the controversial second-hand stories of civil engineer Grady Barney Barnett and a group of students from an unidentified university encountering wreckage and alien bodies while on the plains of San Augustine before being escorted away by the Army. The second-hand stories, set 150 miles from the west of Corona, were described by ufologists as the one aspect of the account that seemed to conflict with the basic story about the retrieval of highly unusual debris from a sheep ranch outside of Corona, New Mexico in 47. Many alleged first-hand accounts of the Roswell incident actually contained information from the Aztec, New Mexico UFO incident, a hoaxed flying saucer crash which gained national notoriety after being promoted by journalist Frank Scully in his article and in a 1950 book, Behind the Flying Saucers. The hoax included stories of humanoid bodies, metals with unusual properties, and later a nurse witnessing an autopsy.
So who's saying this is a hoax?
What part?
Oh,
So they're saying
Frank Scully articles.
The Frank Scully articles is the government saying it's all a hoax. They're saying that he pulled info off other accounts and used them in his Roswell story to come up. That's where the whole army bodies came from. The alien bodies came from. My theory is, and a lot of popular theories on the bodies believe that the bodies that were seen back in around the time of the accident were actually just crash test dummies that they were using in their nuclear experiences or experiments. Because the bodies weren't found near the debris on the ranch in Roswell. The bodies were found, 150 miles to the west of the ranch.
Maybe they bounced after they hit the ground.
The bodies?
Yeah.
Or maybe the bodies didn't bounce and the ship did. Maybe the aliens...
You're going 10 times the speed of sound.
Well, see, it doesn't... And in later theories that come after this... So, you got the Mortician's Tale that came out in 1989. The UFO crash at Roswell... 1991 was when that really became a big thing. And then the alien autopsy hoax of 95. So in 95, a video came out. It was an old...
I remember the black and white video with the alien laying there.
Where they were doing the autopsy. Now, that's supposedly an alien recovered in the Roswell crash. But see, The Roswell crash was really just debris. The Roswell incident was really just debris. There was never a spaceship found. It was just debris from the spaceship that was found. So that's really it for the Roswell incident.
Well, how did they come up with a theory lightning hit the UFO?
That's just what they're assuming brought it down. I mean, it's a conspiracy theory. So it's just a theory. Something had to bring the ship down. You got a ship. We ain't had these things just falling out of the sky. It's not like after the China spy balloon where we had 3 UFOs in a weekend pop up and we shot them down.
But I think government, this is where, I think this is happening all the time.
Oh, there's no doubt.
But government didn't have a set policy at this point. That's why they first announced we got flying saucer.
Correct. And now
they're like, it's a weather balloon.
Now they have a policy that prevents them from just throwing out random facts. Now it's...
Oh, we got the videos now of the Navy pilots watching one just going, whoa!
Have you seen the video of the underwater UFO?
Yeah.
It's just the fishermen in like South America or somewhere out there just fishing, and you see these 2 looks like raptors or something not raptor as in dinosaur, but as in airplanes, come flying by, and then there's just one of them just sitting there hovering, and all of a sudden just shoots down into the water and disappears. Where'd it go? I mean, there's no more video. That's it.
Think of how messed up this world is. We're a tourist destination for all those aliens out in the universe.
That's why they're flying by so randomly now.
Yeah, look how these people screwed it up.
Look at all these idiots. So one other thing, or some more evidence that supports this, is in July of 1947 is when Mac discovered all this stuff, right? In December of 1947 is when William Shockley and John Bardeen and Walter Bertana invented the transistor at Bell Laboratories. Is it a coincidence that the transistor was invented the same year we found the spaceship debris?
No, it sounds like we've adapted some technology. Explain our stealth technology on our airplanes.
Exactly. So,
what material is that made out of? Do we know?
Probably the tinfoil that was found on Mac's property.
Titanium?
So the transistor is a small electronic device that acted as a switch or an amplifier. It was basically a game changer in the world of technology because it allowed for the creation of smaller, more efficient, and more reliable electronics, which paved the way for a modern world as we know.
So we got pocket radios, Walkmans, and all that fun stuff.
Any of that. So in the book, The Roswell Incident, Charles theorizes that the Roswell crash was not a weather balloon, but a crashed spacecraft. Berlitz suggests that the government recovered debris from the crash and used it to reverse engineer advanced technology such as the transistor. In the book The Day After Roswell, former U.S. Army Colonel Philip J. Corso claims that he was involved in the reverse engineering of extraterrestrial technology recovered from the Roswell crash. Corso alleges that he was part of a team that used the alien technology to create new weapons and technological advancements, including the development of the transistor. Most believe that the idea for the transistor came from a UFO crash in Italy in 1933, and possibly the materials used to build them came from the Roswell crash. That doesn't seem that far of a stretch for me. That during the Italy crash, they found the transistors, didn't know what to do with them. I mean, the transmitters didn't know what to do with them. So they had all this technology and didn't know how to rebuild it or recreate it. That was in 1933.
Well, I'm sure you go there and you look at those materials and, they're like, oh, this is kind of like whatever we got, maybe this is kind of like gold or silver for transmitting electricity or voices, or this is, whatever.
Yeah, they didn't know what to do with it though.
Wow, we can't see this on radar.
Exactly. So
let's build an airplane out of it.
So then they find all this material, get these theories in 1933 when that crash happened in Italy, Then this whole thing in Roswell happens, and it makes me, like, you showed the picture. That picture, I don't think is what they found. That picture.
Oh no, it looks like tinfoil, and
yeah,
it looks like a kite.
Looks like a kite they built out of tinfoil to match their story.
And it doesn't look like they spent more than 10 minutes to come up with props to make it look like.
And back then, you didn't have. I think the trust in the government was probably higher in 1947 than it is in 2023.
Guaranteed, because we just fought a world war. You had to trust your leaders. Correct. I mean, they were fighting the Japanese and Hitler, man.
Yeah.
There was like, yes, sir. There was no, ooh, that's messed up.
Yeah, you didn't worry about your government lying to you.
No, you worried about, is my wife at home making enough ammo for me to kill these Germans over here?
Exactly.
That was your concern.
You weren't worried about the government lying to you. Now, fast forward to 2023, I don't expect them to ever tell the truth.
But do you think maybe this is the first time caught in a lie with this type of stuff?
In 1947? On a large scale, maybe.
I mean, other than your normal politicians stealing from the people, or selling their votes, this is where the government meets with the people on the newspaper article. And they obviously, they did a 180-degree turn after they first said it was a flying saucer.
In one day.
Yeah.
By the next day, it had already changed from flying disc to weather balloon.
Well, they do call Harry Truman, go, oh, we really screwed this up.
I'm thinking they probably got a phone call. So I've read in other places I read, and the problem is a lot of the stuff I couldn't find any kind of like documents.
They don't want you to find that crap.
It's hard to find a lot of stuff. A lot of this came from Reddit. You know, Ski7955 on Reddit. He posted a lot of information, especially about the transmitters.
Well, this freaked out Truman to the point, by executive order in 1947, he created the Majestic 12 or MJ-12 to investigate UFOs. This is in 1947. Why would you do that if it was a weather balloon?
Exactly. That's what I mean. Like, everything leads you to believe that this is a cover-up.
Yeah, it's insane.
There's nothing to support the facts that it's a weather balloon. There's more to support the facts that it's a UFO than a weather balloon. And to think your government wouldn't lie to you is insane.
Well, think about this. I mean, we got Mac Brazil, right?
Yep.
Or Brazil, however you want to say it.
Brazil.
Let's say he's friends with the sheriff. You go to town and you go to the diner, what do you tell him? If it's just a weather balloon, you can go, hey, Sheriff, found me another one of them stinking balloons out on the ranch. I'd hate for one of my cows to eat it and die. You know, they're valuable.
Exactly. So he would be mad. He would be angrier that he had crap on his property that it could mess up his ranch. So for him to go, this didn't happen at the diner. He reached out to the sheriff.
Yeah, and said, hey, I found this weird crap on my ranch.
So he goes to the bar on Saturday night. He moseys into the town of Corona to have him a Corona Light. Sitting there after a few beers with his buddies, talking about flying saucers, because this is, less than a month from when the flying saucer craze started. So I'm sure aliens and UFOs and flying saucers is all the big talk at the bar in Corona,
New Mexico. He's probably like, damn, Bubba, I think I see some weird lights out there in the desert sky at night too, Bubba. What do you think?
Let me ask Deborah.
Hey, Deborah.
What do you think, Deborah? Deborah was probably working at the bar in 1947.
Well, she
could have came off the spaceship.
She may defy time.
She might. She defies gravity.
Think about it. If
nobody that big should be walking around.
If you're from a world that goes around your sun once every 12 Earth years, you can be 144 years old when you come to Earth after only 12 years.
That's way too much math for me.
It's like dog years and human years.
So what do you think? Do you believe this or not?
I do. I believe in this stuff.
So you think it was an alien?
Yep. Alien. Totally alien.
Had to have been. There's nothing here and there's no information that I've been able to find that would support weather balloon.
I mean, let's put it down to what just us, everyday living in Metro Atlanta. So you're driving home and you see a neighbor's house on fire. What do? You call 911, right? I hope you call 911, right?
Yeah.
At the very minimum.
Yeah, and this is the South, so yes, we don't mind our own business.
I mean, usually you'd park your car maybe, but let's just say you are
at a minimum, you're calling 911.
You're paranoid and think the whole government's after you, but you'd still call 911 and say, hey, look, at 112 Main Street, there's a fire in a house.
Correct.
So the chief's car is closest, so he gets in his truck and he flies over there, his little pickup truck. He goes, damn, it is a fire. We need 6 pumper trucks out here. They send out the pumper trucks. Well, what's going to happen on your weekly newspaper? 112 Main Street burned down. Took 6 pumper trucks. Chief Jones showed up and called for backup. Then Saturday, they're going to retract it. No, it was just his simple child running around with a sparkler. Turned on the garden hose and put it out. It wasn't no fire. But everybody's driving down Main Street going, dang, that place burned up. So you know what you see.
It's a cover-up.
Yeah, total cover-up. There's too many people pulling the alarm and taking it further and further up the chain.
The farther up the chain it gets, the smaller the story becomes.
In the same year, Truman says, we need to start Majestic 12 and start investigating this crap.
And in the same year, the CIA was created. And in the same year, the transmitter was created.
Yep.
So...
And we're blowing up bombs all over the place down in the Marshall Islands.
Probably not.
No, I think we kind of brought the attention.
I don't believe in coincidences like this.
How much of this happened in communist Russia? Because at the same time, they're testing nuclear bombs.
So another theory is Stalin loaded a craft with fake alien-like people in it.
That he got from Dr. Mengele.
And launched it.
In Hitlerville.
Is that it?
Yeah.
There's another.
I've heard that theory.
Okay, and launched it into New Mexico to create a distraction. Kind of like the distractions our government creates today to take our attention off of everything that's really going on. Like, look over here, guys.
Look at this hand up here. Not this one behind my back. Yeah. This one.
Yeah, whenever it becomes more feasible that aliens are invading us versus the government's lying to us, there's something going on. When your government starts screaming aliens like they are right now, they're covering something much bigger up.
Oh, yeah. They're like, all right, so some of this crap we're about to have in technology, we got to explain. So we're going to have to introduce the stuff we covered up in 47.
Well, now they're releasing it saying it could be real. I mean, if you look at Clinton, Obama...
Do you know
Bush,
Clinton tried to get the top secret documents and they told him he didn't have high enough clearance?
Correct.
Isn't that messed up?
But they showed Obama and he laughed about it and goes... And then Trump even asked... So Trump's son asked him what he thought about Roswell and he goes, I knew you were going to ask me that. Let's just say it's not what you think it is. And left it at that.
But it is.
But that's the thing. The government officials speaking on it now are so cloak and dagger about it, it makes you think it's an alien. So up until recently, they wanted you to think it was a weather balloon. Now I feel like they're turning it and they're leaning into the conspiracies and want you to think it's an alien. Because I think...
It now meets their narrative.
Exactly. It now fits their narrative of we're being invaded by... There's another conspiracy that we're going to get to on a later episode called Project Bluebeam that requires alien invasion. So they're turning the narrative now from no, it didn't happen to, oh yeah, it happened. It was an alien back then. We lied to you. Area 51, all that's coming out as truth now, as fact. And it's because it fits their modern day narrative. Like, I think it's dangerous if you believe all conspiracies. I think they go a little far, most of them. But it's also dangerous not to believe in any conspiracies. I think you need a healthy balance of both. Because to think your government wouldn't lie to you is very stupid and naive.
Well, you can look at George Santos. Do you think he's telling the truth to his constituents?
We already know he didn't.
Right, he doesn't.
And they asked him where he learned it, and he said the last two presidents.
And yes, I agree with him.
I do too.
And it doesn't piss on any one party; it pisses on all of them.
That's proof that they're all corrupt and lying to you. That he's still a politician. He's still in office.
Because his
people elected him because he honestly lied to them.
He's just a magnification of what truly the root of politicians is. Evil? They're liars.
Oh, evil.
Well, they're evil liars.
They are evil.
Think about it. Yeah. The rules apply to you, but not to them.
100%. And diplomatic immunity. I mean, we looked at running for the House. And if we would have won, we would have got that little pouch thing that we could put anything in and nobody could look in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's that called? The diplomatic pouch or something like that?
Well.
So why can't I have that? Why can't I have a pouch to get on an airplane with as a citizen?
Because Brad, the citizen, should not have state secrets.
Exactly. That's a problem for me. Just because they're...
Well, they tell you, this is the government if it was a human being. Bradley, this right here is very dangerous for you to know about. So to protect you,
we're going to lie to you.
We're going to lie to you.
Yeah.
And then you'll be able to sleep at night because this stuff will really freak you out, Brad.
No, not knowing is more freaky than knowing. Because what they're telling you, especially nowadays, it's getting to the point where it's so insane. Like, we have a popularity contest to pick our presidents. I mean, in reality, that's all we're doing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, which old doofus is better than the other old doofus? Like, that's what it's become the last few years. And
who prefers pudding over applesauce?
That's all it is.
Basically.
Like, it's a popularity contest of old people to see who's going to be your president. Or basically, I mean, look at Fetterman. What's his first name? John Paul Fetterman?
Mindless Fetterman.
So his wife drops him off at the mentally insane hospital, and then she goes on vacation out of the country.
Well, she hopes it benefits him.
Yeah, getting away from him. That's because he don't know who she is. He's not going to miss her. So, I mean, like I said, to think your government wouldn't lie to you is just as dangerous as thinking they would lie to you. Or it's probably more dangerous than thinking they would. When you accept that they're lying about, what do you think?
Aren't you accepting their lies when you reelect them, though?
100%.
I like the way he lies to me.
He lies better
or she's the best liar there is.
Or maybe he has less lies. I mean, now that's what it's getting down to. Well, he didn't lie as much. I mean, look at the top secret documents. You know, Biden says that his is completely different than Trump because his were less top secret.
But, I mean, the way to solve this in Congress, if you're listening,
they are
mandatory 5 years in prison for anyone with top secret documents that have served at the White House or in Congress.
Yeah, any politician for that.
So it's like losing a tire in NASCAR. You're out, buddy.
You're guaranteed to get a 4 weeks, or I think it's 2 week suspension now in NASCAR if you lose a tire. If you get caught, I don't know if I'd say a minimum 5 years.
Truex got nailed twice yesterday, but then we'll talk about that in our other show.
I think that a year. You give them a year in prison. Even you can put them.
Well, they're a bunch of pansies. I don't think they can.
Put them in a blue collar.
It could probably be a 3-month sentence. Put them a week in a county jail.
No, I mean, I'd put them a year at one of these low security.
Well, I don't think they could even handle that.
Soft-core prisons
where they can check out during the day but have to come back in at night.
No, I don't want them leaving. I mean, they may have a tennis court, but kind of like on.
I think they're allowed to leave during the day, though.
Kind of like that prison on Goodfellas where he's using the razor knife to cut up the.
Kind of like those prisoners at the restaurant we went to last week.
Yeah, kind of like those guys. Like work releases.
Yeah. We're going to wait your tables, but tonight we got to check back in.
Yeah, that was sketchy, man. That was real. They didn't even speak English. The guy greeting us at the door didn't even speak English. And the lady's like...
What do you think he was, a Somali pirate?
She goes, oh, he just got here from synagogue. Isn't that a church type
Senegal.
Senegal?
Yeah, not synagogue.
I thought
he was Jewish?
Yeah, I'm thinking this guy came from church, and now he don't speak English. I'm not going to that church.
No, they had articles on the walls. It was a work release for prisoners.
Was it?
Yeah.
I didn't read it. I mean, the one dude had his face mask and everything on. Hat on backwards, hoodie up.
Had his blue Crip mask on.
Had his bandana on.
Then we had a coworker who wanted to leave his phone on the table when he went to the bathroom.
No. You don't leave stuff laying around here. It won't be there when you get back.
We straightened him up.
Yeah, we fixed that.
He's from, like, out in the middle of the desert, New Mexico.
Is he?
Yeah.
So he probably knows all about this.
Probably knows more about this than safety in the big city of Atlanta.
Probably his cousin.
Could be.
Mac?
Have you noticed the way his head is kind of pulled back a little bit? He could be an alien.
Maybe.
I mean, look, he's all bugged out like that.
I mean, you seen Kamala Harris talk?
He reminds me of Kamala Harris.
She could be an alien, too.
If she was a man, or maybe she is.
I think she's an alien. Would that make her non-gender?
Is it those gills in her throat that make you think that?
She doesn't breathe. Like, there's no movement going on here in her face. Only movement's here. When she breathes, it's...
Could be. Think she was an alien born in the United States? That way she could have opportunity to be president?
I think Kamala Harris was born in the United States.
New Mexico, I think.
No, I think she was born... Well, maybe. I don't really have a clue where she's from.
Area 51.
She's from somewhere. I think she died probably in her teens. She was in a car crash, what I'm going to assume. Drunk driving, probably. And an alien took over her body. Like on...
Folks, this is when you're really getting into the juice.
Like Men in Black.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that the bug alien come down and took over Kamala. Now she's got the gills. That's why she breathes like this.
Maybe we should take her to that trench in the Bahamas where they test submarines, see how deep she can go.
I think we just spray some like bug spray at her.
On her throat?
Just see if she sizzles.
I don't think the Secret Service will let us get that close.
Well, it's their job.
Do you think they know?
Us from knowing?
Think they know?
Oh yeah, there's no way they don't.
But as many people that retire and write books, I don't know.
Yeah, but everybody thinks they're just cuckoo anyway. Like, oh, he's just making stuff up to sell books. That's
right.
That's
just
why
like
they
this
can
conspiracy
That's
here.
why they can discredit everything, because it's all done as publicity. So, all right, that's all I got on the Roswell incident. Jamie, you got anything else, my friend?
Nope, not at all.
Well, guys, make sure you join in next week. We'll have another episode for you, and Jamie's going to be picking the topic, so it's either going to be conspiracy related or paranormal activity. So thanks to everyone who's listened. Make sure you share this show on social media. Share it with your friends. You can follow us on Twitter. We're still at Car Backwards. If you're listening to this show and you haven't checked out our other podcasts or other shows, we have another show called the Race Car Spelled Backwards podcast. Make sure you check it out.
It's loosely based on racing.
Yeah, just
loosely.
Just like this is loosely based on government fact. Or is it
loosely
conspiracy?
Or is it just our untwisted ideas? Might be our reality.
I think it's just our reality.
Yeah.
Make sure you go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. Check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Rate us and leave us a review. Other than that, y'all have a great week. We'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.